Hello. This is our first podcast, our first of many. So, through this podcast, we just obviously want to inspire others. You know, जब आपको खुद इतना टाइम हो जाए आयरलैंड में, आप खुद एक टाइम पे आए हो जब आप बहुत कुछ सीखना चाहते हो, बहुत कुछ करना चाहते हो लाइफ में, बट आपको लगता है डायरेक्शंस नहीं मिल रहे हैं, पता नहीं कहाँ जाना है। बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स हैं, बहुत सारी लोग हैं जो आपको अलग अलग सजेशंस देते हैं, बट आई थिंक कभी कभी मुझे लगता है कि उनसे जानना ज़्यादा बेटर रहता है जो इस सिचुएशन से जा चुके हैं, जो इस पाथ को क्रॉस कर चुके हैं। तो आई थिंक इस पॉडकास्ट के थ्रू हम यही करना चाह रहे हैं कि जो आयरलैंड में लोगों ने जिन्होंने एक सक्सेस जर्नी पास की है, जिन्होंने वो स्ट्रगल्स देखे हैं, जिन्होंने कुछ डिफरेंट किया है, जो एक जिसको हम पेक्यूलियर पाथ भी बोल सकते हैं, जिसको हम एक जेनेरिक पाथ नहीं बोल सकते हैं, उनके लिए हम चाहते हैं कि कुछ ना कुछ वी ब्रिंग आउट समथिंग थ्रू स्पीकर्स हु कैन एक्चुअली शेयर देयर एक्सपीरियंस, मोटिवेट अदर्स, इंस्पायर अदर्स, how they can possibly do better in their life. So this podcast is literally just giving back, and not just giving back. I think a lot of myths around a lot of things, a lot of misunderstanding about different topics. So I think through this, what we want to do is we want to unlock those myths, tap the market that hasn't been tapped before. तो बहुत कुछ करना चाहेंगे। ये हमारी फर्स्ट ऑफ मैनी सीरीज़ है जिसमें हम लोगों को अलग अलग टॉपिक्स पे, अलग अलग जर्नी पे लेके जाएंगे। तो ऑन दैट आई थिंक आई वांट टू इंट्रोड्यूस आवर गेस्ट टुडे, मिस्टर जे पटेल। जे,
Thank you, sir.
nice to meet you,
Thank you very much.
and thanks for accepting to come on
Pleasure,
one of the
pleasure is entirely mine. I would say the pleasure is entirely mine, and like you have put it in very much in a summary as to what the thought behind this is, and it is for a good cause. It is to bring in awareness about various areas which needs light. So you're doing your part, and I really feel that I'm privileged to be here. So इतना सक्सेस तो मिला नहीं है, ये इसे मॉडेस्टी कहो या जो कहना चाहो, लेकिन ये हकीकत है कि ये जर्नी के अंदर हम कौन से स्टेप पे है ये हमें पता नहीं है। बस इट्स ऑनवर्ड्स एंड अपवर्ड्स की ये जर्नी है फॉर एवरीबडी, एंड आई विश यू वेल एज वेल, एंड congratulations for starting this, and thank you for inviting me to the show.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I think, Jay, I think we know each other, I think, for a good time. I'd say not that long, a year. And I think it's a new thing for me as well, that we have not gone deep on many topics. I kind of, we touched base on, कि आप कहाँ पे थे, आपने क्या किया, but हम कभी उसके deep में नहीं गए। तो एज वेल एज हमारे लिसनर्स के लिए और मेरे लिए खुद फर्स्ट टाइम ये एक नया एक्सपीरियंस होने वाला है, क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स जब भी हम मिलते हैं, आई थिंक इट्स मोर अबाउट फन, इट्स मोर अबाउट पार्टीज। सो आई थिंक दिस इज लाइक अ मोर सीरियस कॉन्वर्सेशन, एंड वी डोंट हैव टू मेक इट सीरियस नेसेसरली।
I would say that this will be more kind of a connecting conversation.
यस,
मिलना होता है तब बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं, हमने काफ़ी टाइम कोशिश करी, we tried that we will go for a coffee, probably a breakfast, and try to have a better understanding about what you do, what I do, and how things have been, and you have had your own journey. Like, so it's more kind of that we are getting this opportunity to know each other, but in a format where there are lights and mics. But it'd be interesting.
you've chosen a different path, and we'll come back to it later. How you have left your job and really embark on a path of a journey where it's not easy to be like a journey to be an entrepreneur. But look, I think it's good to kind of understand your journey. If we understand what were you doing back home, what was your childhood like, and what studies did you do, or what were you doing profession wise in India?
So, a typical middle class person, more sort of as I've seen that I've been. So, if you see, the journey has been that Bombay mein hi pala bada. We have been in Mumbai ever since I was born. I was born in Gujarat, but then I was 3 months old. We came to Mumbai. It was dad and mom and everybody. The family was there, and went there, schooling, college. In college, I didn't know itself that whether my interest or my personality aligns to be an accountant. And chartered accountancy today and in the days when I got graduated and I completed that. And prior to that was one of the very competitive and tough examinations in India. I would say that the best ones were UPSC and the IIM CAT and all that kind of cadre. And you would see chartered accountancy been falling into similar line. लोग कहते थे कि साइन करने का पैसा मिलेगा. So जब एक आदमी मिडिल क्लास चीज़ से आता है जहाँ आपने देखा है कि माँ बाप एंड्स को मीट करने के लिए किसी ना किसी तरीके से दे आर ट्राइंग टू एजुकेट यू, मेक श्योर दैट द फैमिली इज रन स्मूथली, तो इसमें कोई ऐसा कहे आपको साइन करने का पैसा मिलेगा, सो यू गेट दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग दैट कि ऐसा कौन सा चीज़ है, मैं ऐसा क्या पढ़ लूँ कि साइन करने का पैसा मिलेगा. एंड देन द कल्चर एंड द नर्चरिंग वाज दैट कि भाई पढ़ेगा वो बढ़ेगा.
नाइस.
तो एक छोटा सा परिवार है, गुजराती ट्रेडिशनल फैमिली, यू नो, कि करવું का एक मोटू છે, बड़ा करना है कुछ, and you go big or you go home, but how is a big question. When resources are very limited, all what gives you strength is your culture, your parents, you go back in any person's life. Today we have been better off, or what we were and what we are today, there's been a journey and towards that we have been made ourselves capable, or we were able to do this. But back then it was more sort of that you want to do something good, you want to start your own business, but how, the big how or what is your product. So these kind of things you don't know, but then there is a defined kind of a hope कि confirmed चीज़ ये है कि चलो पढ़ लेंगे तो कुछ ना कुछ तो वहाँ से कर लेंगे. So the entire energy and the focus of the family around me, और एक ऐसा बच्चा जो थोड़ा शरारती है, जो एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ में थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, यू लाइक टू बी आउटसाइड इन द ड्रामेटिक सोसाइटी मोर देन टू बी इन अ क्लासरूम इन स्कूल or in the college.
Like
and it's a
most
B
others,
town.
yeah.
It's a Bollywood town. That's where you see some of the film stars were in and around in the same batch. So Kunal Khemu was just 2 years senior to us.
Okay.
In the same college. Amir
Nice.
Khan has been from Narsi Monji. And I studied in there. तो आज भी उसका बेंच देखा, उसमें आमिर करके कार्व आउट किया हुआ बेंच अभी भी रखा है.
Nice.
So they come annually to our functions and shows. So you get these kind of inspiration. आदमी वैसा ही बनता है जहाँ वो पला बड़ा हुआ है. ऐसा नहीं बनता है कि जहाँ से वो पैदा हो गया है. It's where you grow up and that's where will influence you.
उस पे तो हम उस पे थोड़ा टच बेस करते हैं.
Yeah.
जब आपका कॉलेज ख़त्म हुआ, क्योंकि काफ़ी लोग IIT से भी पढ़ते हैं, IIM से भी पढ़ते हैं, लोग बहुत सुनते हैं IIT IIM के बारे में कि निकलते ही आपको जो मिथ है कि 2 करोड़ 5 करोड़ का पैकेज मिलता है. तो जब आप नरसी मुंजी से निकले 5 साल का आपका अकाउंटिंग का कोर्स करके, तो was it a placement that you were after, or was it you were applying for companies? How was the job culture then?
हाँ, तो सिचुएशन ये थी ना कि बीकॉम करके तो कुछ होने नहीं वाला है. कॉलेज बहुत बढ़िया है एंड दिस इज लाइफ. दैट यू थिंक दैट यू विल बी फ्रॉम ट्रिनिटी एंड यू विल डू UCD एंड देन यू विल गो, आयरलैंड की बात कर रहे हैं, US में जाओगे तो येल, आप बॉस्टन जाओगे, पढ़ोगे, अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी से निकलोगे तो आपका काम बन जाएगा. वहाँ बीकॉम का डिग्री का वैसे कोई वैल्यू नहीं था. एंड दैट्स द रीज़न पीपल आफ्टर द 12th स्टैंडर्ड दे डू देयर कॉलेज. बट वो कॉलेज का अच्छा लाइफ या जो रिलैक्स लाइफ था वो कभी देखा नहीं था, बिकॉज चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी साथ में चल रही थी.
Okay.
So you are riding on 2 horses, sir.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is that the placement and everything would be for a bank job or to go and work in Kotak Mahindra or some other kind of insurance company as a financial hub. There's multi-level asset management companies. You'll get a job there. You start your career. But वो कभी गोल था नहीं कि CA कंप्लीट होने के पहले कहीं जॉब ले ली तो CA अधूरा रह जाएगा.
Okay. So it was mostly like you were doing your BCom through the college, and then you were doing your CA on the side.
Side by side. And
Okay.
Much of was a culture back then, and this is how it is still today.
Still today, okay.
After 12th, people who want to do chartered accountancy or want to go for competitive exams, they would do it this way. So the first thing was that once we complete CA, and CA was not that easy for me. I have got my decent 1 attempts in both. तो ये भी एक चीज़ हुआ करती थी कि if you're a first attempt chartered accountant, you're gonna get it and crack a good package.
I think अभी भी इंडिया में बोलते हैं कि 3% सक्सेस रेट है टोटल. तो आपका कितना अटेम्प्ट लगा?
मुझे पहला अटेम्प्ट लगा था इंटरमीडिएट में, so I failed once, and then in final I failed once. So both the time second attempts.
Okay.
And Hiral was throughout first attempt.
So we'll come to that later.
Yeah.
So after you have graduated from your CA, so what was your journey then? Like, just give us a brief understanding of what jobs were you doing.
So I just completed my chartered accountancy and started applying for interviews, and I got it that in those interviews it was probably that समझ में नहीं आया था कि कौन सा career path choose करना है. जहाँ मैं देख रहा था those people who have completed their chartered accountant in first attempt, they would want to go in M&A, mergers and acquisitions, tax, they don't want to do audit, internal audit तो करना ही नहीं है. So people had their own ways and seeing that where I can make more money, or investment side I want to be. I don't want to be an accountant, I want to be an investment fund manager. So there's a difference. पर ये हमें कोई knowledge नहीं थी, जो मिला वो हमने ले लिया.
Yeah.
और ये सबसे बड़ी सीख है कि जब तुम्हारे पास कुछ भी नहीं है तो कहीं ना कहीं तुम स्टार्ट कर लो.
Beggars are not choosers.
Choosers.
Yes, yes.
तुम काम हाथ में ले लो. मुझे कोई काम मिला, मैं उसको 10x करके उसको वापस दे दूं. मुझे कोई 100 रुपया दिया ना, तो मैं उसको 110 की चीज दे दूं. वो जो वैल्यू ड्रिवन है ना, वो सबसे ज्यादा है.
Nice.
सामने वाले को ये लगना चाहिए कि इसने, चाहे जॉब हो बिजनेस हो, मेरे डैड ने पूरी जिंदगी जॉब की है. ही वॉज working for one of the biggest cutting and polishing manufacturing diamond company. He has told that what he has learned in his life is that कि business करो तो ऐसे करो कि भाई आप नौकरी कर रहे हो, you are in a job, टाइम पे आना, टाइम पे जाना, कर्मचारी के जैसा पूरा ऑर्गेनाइज्ड रहकर, और जॉब कर रहे हो तो ऐसा समझ के करो कि भाई ये मेरा खुद का बिजनेस है, जितना करूँगा उतना मुझे मिलेगा.
Nice.
हम हमेशा ये दो चीज़ों को अलग कर देते हैं. You'll see great businessmen, you'll see other businessmen. The one thing which you see across the board is they are not very organized.
Yeah.
You need consultants, you need accountants, you need lawyers to make you organized. You
Yeah.
need an operations team to make you organized. So if you are working like an employee in your own business, then your success is going to be sure. So this is what kind of my thing was, that I got what I was applying for, and I got a call from Protivity Consulting, and it was a consulting job. With Jabil was one of my client, which then later became my employer. So
Okay.
after Protivity, from 1.5 year, I'm just adding through all the details so that, and then I went to Jabil. 3 years I worked for them, and they said that there's an opportunity in Ireland, and that's how Jabil moved me to.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we are, starting this podcast, because there are a lot of people who come here, who want to grow, who want to do something, but the guidance and the direction is not there. So that's very briefly. So what was your exact work time, in India? Like how long you worked after you passed college up until you come here? And then we'll come to how did you move here and what did you do? But what was your total work experience?
So the work experience in India was about 3 years.
Okay.
After completing chartered accountancy, for a year I worked with Protivity Consulting. That's where, when you are in consulting, you are going to different companies. You are seeing different processes in different kind of genre and industries. And of which one of the client was Jabil. And then I moved from Protivity to Jabil. I got hired by Jabil, and they bailed me out from. Normally as a consulting company, you have a clause that you can't go and move to the client side.
Yeah.
But over here, Jabil said that we are ready to hire him, and if there's any hiring fee which we need to pay, they're happy to do that. So they did it in a very professional way.
Yeah.
And I was lucky that I got that opportunity. So for 2 years I worked with Jabil. So it was more kind of 3 years to answer your question.
Yeah. So I think I think you raised another very good point. When you're actually working for a client, and if they see a capacity in you or a skill in you which they really want to hire directly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I think this is one of the areas which we will probably cover in my another podcast, immigration. That's another area that we'll be covering this week. But I think, a lot of people back home, they want to move. They want to, see what the life is outside India. And I think, you kind of touched very briefly on how you could be working for your client. And if they like you, they hire you. And, this is the best opportunity, because then you don't need to really prove yourself in the first job, because they've seen your work. They know who they're hiring, and they have that comfort zone with you. So when you moved to Ireland in what year?
2016, September.
Okay. So you worked with a consulting firm who you were working for in India, but they hired you to manage the operations for Ireland. So what was your job profile here?
So I was a senior internal auditor for the entire EU, and the company which transferred me is Jabil. So it was in contract manufacturing. Today it's a Fortune 500 company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. And they have a team in Asia, in Europe, and in the Americas and Latin America. So I was formerly a part of the Asia Pacific team, and there was a vacancy over here, and I wished to, try and explore. I was young. I said that it'd be a right time to see as to how cultures are different, how people are different, and how you work with them, and how accountancy and auditing approach would be different. So the whole thing was in the mind that okay, let's work with different nationalities. Just like to see that how different practices across the world happen.
It's a as I said, it's a great start when you already have somebody who's willing to relocate you. But I think for a lot of people who are in India, and as you mentioned earlier that your wife is CA as well, like explain it to me the challenges. While you were moving, you had an opportunity, you knew what you were going to do, but the other half, right, who also may be ambitious, who has her own career path, how did you manage that? Because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. One person gets the job, what other person? Just to our listeners, like what are the challenges, and and how did you really overcome कि wife को भी बोलें कि मेरी job लग गई है but अभी आपको भी चलना पड़ेगा, and it's not easy to convince the other partner sometimes if they are as ambitious. तो वो थोड़ा सा shed करो light.
Yeah. What I feel is that in my case, it was sheer luck. I was very lucky. मैं नसीब वाला था कि मैंने कहा जिंदगी में confirmed चीज़ लेना बहुत ज़रूरी है. मैं जिस thought और discipline से आया हूँ, what I think is that if you are getting something confirmed over in one place, whereas on the other side the world looks to be very lucrative, everybody wants to go there, it's a magical place, where things happen, where magic happens, but there's no assurance or guarantee that whether you'll be able to make a mark there, whether they're going to give you citizenship, whether you'll be always constantly in a dilemma. Should I buy a house? Should I buy a car? Should I do this? I said that I don't want to live in that hassle. There's one life. You go to a place where Lord has given you the opportunity in the near proximity of the UK. We drive on the same side. We don't drive the same way, I know. We drive on the same side. There's similar history, an agrarian economy. And I said that it would be much better. So it was me who was trying to,
So she moved with her job, or she left her job to come with you?
She had to leave her job. We tried that she moves with her job, JLT.
I think anytime I have a friends who are moving over here, and if they are working and either they got married in India or they have somebody who had that met in India and they are just bringing them over here, I think the first thing that I tell them is find her a job, because being in a country where there are a lot of unknowns, you don't know too many people, your social circle is very limited, you don't want to leave this person. So I think it limits their capacity to do what they want to do. So I think that was I was trying to understand. So she moved here, but then she was not working for how long before she landed a job?
For 1 month.
So that's a decent period.
So मैंने यही कहा कि and I made a point when I answered your last question is that the story became interesting after we came here and how she navigated into a role.
Acha.
And back then, you remember in 2014 there were challenges that a dependent of a skilled worker was not allowed to work at all.
पहले शायद stamp 3 मिलती थी, अभी recently stamp 1 या 4 start.
On stamp 3 she managed to convince the employer, and I would say that again we got lucky, whatever we say, that it was God's grace that we were able to carve out the way. So
जय भाई, वैसे आप अभी भी सेल्स में ही हो? आपने हिरल को भी सेल कर ही दिया कि कि this is the best place and you will find a way, and I think sometime it works, sometime you need convincing, and I think you did it was I think it was a good decision, but I think we'll come to it. तो जय भाई, हम बात कर रहे थे कि आप मूव हुए हीरल के साथ, तो थोड़ा सा उस पर लाइट शेड करो कि फिर हीरल ने कैसे नेविगेट किया, जो अब स्पाउस आते हैं यूजुअली, वो कैसे, उनके लिए बेस्ट वे क्या है नेविगेट करने का कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में?
सर, एक तो आपका क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन और पीछे क्या एक्सपीरियंस था. बैक इन इंडिया व्हाट वर यू डूइंग एंड व्हाट वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस इन, व्हाट वाज योर क्वालिफिकेशन विल डेफिनेटली हैव अ काउंट एंड से. देन व्हेन यू कम ओवर हियर, द वे वी राइट अ सीवी इन इंडिया and the way over here in the Western Hemisphere, what people would want to see, that is what something which people need to work on. It should be hard to ignore for an employer to put it in the bin or to keep it aside. Your experience and your qualification both needs to be highlighted, but the proportion of your experience needs to be highlighted more exactly showing what you did matches the job description, what they have advertised for. So ये भी एक art है. You need to put a thought on how the person on the other side is going to perceive the CV as. Just because you know 5 languages or you know something else and you love writing about that, you should not use the pages in the CV to mention more and highlight those things. Just highlight those things, which is going to be much more easier for them to select you as a candidate for an interview. So that would be the first step. The second is that persistently you will have to try and meet recruiters, and especially the Dublin, Galway or any kind of a Cork market is in Ireland more driven by recruiters. You know yourself, CPL, Hayes are a few to name. These are bigger companies and which has been successfully, placing people from all across the world who come to Ireland. Today, Ireland is a very diverse market, and you see out of every 10 people on O'Connell Street, there are 6 probably which are outside of Ireland, and they have come over here as expats and are working in this economy and contributing. So Hiral got a job within a month,
Okay.
which was very rare. And back then there was a thing that the spouse of a critical skilled employee gets a stamp 3
Yes.
visa.
So
and on that status काम नहीं कर सकते. You can't work on that stamp 3.
your employer had to sponsor you to
Yeah.
change that stamp.
Yeah, so
Yes.
her employer, so she went for an interview and she was asked this question that what's your visa status? And she says that I'm over here as a dependent for my with my husband, and he's on critical skills, but yeah, I'm sure that I can work. And this is what we had decided, that this is how we are going to put forward. Because I've also seen that a lot of employers are also not very educated about how to take stamps, how to see the immigration passes, because the local challenge is not this. There's no challenge when you're interviewing a local candidate. This challenge comes when you are hiring somebody who is a non-EU person or a person from any other EU country. That's where the visa requirements needs to be checked. And that's where, it was too early in 2016 for people to even know that though a person who is qualified can apply for a critical skills. So there was a general work permit, which is stamp 1, and a stamp 1 critical CSEP. And, we were lucky that we were able to, or we would say that we got away with it by, placing our point to Hiral's employers back then in January.
Yeah, it's good to know, because most of the time I've seen a lot of employers freezing the vacancy or hiring during the month, during the last quarter, and they start it again because they get the new headcount.
Yeah.
So I think in this case, I think I give it to her that she really still pushed for to be, constantly, chasing.
We are humble hard workers where we feel that हम कहीं भी जाएंगे हम कंट्रीब्यूट करने के लिए आ रहे हैं, हम यहाँ से कुछ लेने नहीं आ रहे हैं. तो जो आपका मूलभूत स्वभाव है, जो देने की आपकी भावना है, और जो आपको पता है कि इफ आई गिव आई विल गेन, द गिवर्स गेन. So this has been the philosophy and the mantra not only in Jai Patel's case, but there are many others.
True.
And the list is long, sir.
Yeah.
The list is long.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of time, my friends ask me if they are on spouse visa. And if there's some time, like, Hiral landed a job in a large company, but if I had friends who are applying for even small companies who doesn't understand, the whole visa process and how the stamp can be changed, I tell a lot of my friends and a lot of people who ask me for my suggestion is कि सिर्फ अपने employers को बोलो कि आप मेरा skill check करो, वो जो stamp है वो मैं खुद change करा लूँगा, वो मेरे ऊपर छोड़ दो. क्योंकि एक बार आपके पास ऑफर लेटर है, आप क्रिटिकल स्किल्स में आते हो, आप वो जो मेन जो कैटेगरीज हैं उसमें आते हो, तो उससे आपका एम्प्लॉयर थोड़ा सा सेटिस्फाई हो जाता है कि कितना टाइम है, आप उनको थोड़े डॉक्यूमेंटेशन खुद प्रोवाइड करो. तो आई थिंक काफ़ी खुद अगर आप खुद भी प्रोएक्टिवली उनको प्रोवाइड करते हो तो उनको लगता है कि आप कीन हो, आप एम्बिशियस हो, आप रियली ड्राइव कर रहे हो वो कॉन्वर्सेशन, तो वो भी हेल्प करता है.
आपने जो बोला वही किया है हमने. ये एग्जैक्टली मेरा माइंडसेट था. काफ़ी चीज़ों में जैसे हमारा दिमाग मिलता है, ये उनमें से एक चीज़ें हैं कि चैलेंजेस को चैलेंजेस की तरह मत देखो. अरे तेरे पास स्टैम्प नहीं है, तुझे जॉब नहीं मिलेगी, वाई? अरे मेरे पास एजुकेशन है, अब ये स्टैम्प की वजह से मुझे तुम रोकोगे? काम मुझे करना है, मैं आऊँगा 30 दिन काम करके जाऊँगा आपके पास, तो तनख्वाह आपको देनी है. उसके बीच में जो स्टैम्प वाला चीज़ है ना, इसका कोई रास्ता नहीं है. ये कायदा है सर. दिस इज अ लॉ ऑफ द कंट्री एंड देयर आर सम इमिग्रेशन रूल्स विच नीड्स टू बी नेविगेटेड. आप मुझे जॉब दो, मैं आपको परमिट ला के दूंगा.
हाँ बिल्कुल.
एक सेंटेंस में हमने ये बोला था. बोलता
अभी फिर भी थोड़ा सा जैसे हमने बोला कि कुछ वीज़ा में चेंजेस आए जिससे ईजी हो गया. एनीवे लुक, आई थिंक एज ए जो मैंने पहले बोला, हमारा इमिग्रेशन का एक अनदर पॉडकास्ट है, वो हम बाद में जाएंगे. आई थिंक जो मेन जब हम फर्स्ट टाइम मिले, आपने बोला कि कैसे आपको जॉब से यहाँ पे मूव किया उन्होंने, उसके बाद आई थिंक जो पाथ मुझे काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग लगा. और आजकल काफ़ी लोगों से जब मिलते हैं, काफ़ी एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप होती है उनमें, वो कुछ करना चाहते हैं, बट एक कंफर्ट जोन में आ चुके हैं काफ़ी लोग कि जॉब छोड़ूंगा, वो जो मेरा सैलरी हर महीने के एंड में आ रहा है, जो मेरा पेंशन आ रहा है, जो मेरे को इंश्योरेंस मिल रही है, वो सब छोड़ के मुझे एक जॉब स्टार्ट करना है, मतलब काफ़ी सारे उसके बैकलैशेस भी होते हैं, उसकी इम्प्लीकेशंस होते हैं कि घर कैसे चलेगा। तो आप थोड़ा अपना उस जर्नी के बारे में बताओ, जैसे आपने अपना एक अकाउंटेंसी फर्म खोला जॉब छोड़ के, तो आपके माइंड में कैसे आया, कैसे स्टार्ट किया, थोड़ा सा उस पर बैकग्राउंड।
सर कैसा था कि डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी का एक कंसेप्ट होता है। आपको बहुत भूख लगी होती है, आप एक एप्पल खाते हो, आपकी थोड़ी भूख कम होगी, आप दूसरा खाओगे, तीसरा खाओगे, चौथा एप्पल कोई सामने लाएगा ना, तो आप उसी एप्पल को लेकर उसको मारोगे, आप चिढ़ोगे, आप कहेंगे बस हो गया, मैंने खाया। तो जब आदमी के पास कुछ रिसोर्सेज नहीं होते और नहीं मेरे को पैसा कमाना है, मेरे को इंडिया से बाहर निकलना है, या मेरे को इंडिया में ही बड़ा बनना है, कुछ भी करना है, आई वांट टू प्रोग्रेस, ओके। So when you are qualified and when you see that you need a job and you need to save up for your wedding, you need to buy a house or some or the other way, resources and money and a finance plays very important role in your mind, especially if you are a middle class person and you are brought up in that way. So that was my kind of a need. When I came to Ireland and I worked for 2 years, I was already 5 years in the same company where I was in different teams, and I've seen the company and I feel that I was questioning myself that where is the growth in this? 10 years down the lane, I'll be still dealing with the same kind of problems. I'll be still asking the same questions. I'll be doing audits. Skill जा रहा है, वेस्ट हो रहा हूँ, पैसा आ रहा है, क्या क्या ज़रूरी है? तो बोला पैसा तो पहले नहीं चाहिए था, पहले नहीं था लेकिन चाहिए था, सॉरी, पैसा पहले नहीं था और चाहिए था, पैसा अब मिला है, घर हमने ले लिया है लुकन में, एंड 2018 फास्ट फॉरवर्ड 16 में आया, 18 में वी वर इनसाइड द हाउस, वी गॉट द कीज एंड वी सेव्ड अप एंड वी डिड इट. In this country where there is crisis of housing and rentals are going pretty much high, where people are not able to afford and blah blah blah, we rented for only 15 months. We were very lucky again.
Yeah,
So
that was
somewhere
very
in
good.
this journey there's been some kind of a halo over the head or blessing that me and Hiral we sailed in smooth. I've seen much more harder stories, sir, that we got into the house and I realized that I'm getting set amount of money, I have decent amount of savings. What I want to do next is something that I don't want to get stuck into this kind of a role where I'm doing the same thing again and again and there's no challenge. I wouldn't call myself as an entrepreneur still, because what I feel, what distinguishes a businessman and an entrepreneur and a practice manager or a practicing consultant or a chartered accountant is very different. Practice क्या है sir? Practice grow होनी है. You take a solicitor, you take an accountant, you take an architect, you take a doctor. When we start, we have 3 clients. That 3 will bring other 30. The 30 will grow to 300. It's a gradual process. वो होना ही है.
Word of
It's
mouth,
like,
referral
it's like
business.
schooling, sir. आप
of starting a your own business, the better off, because उसके बाद आपका family grow होता है, फिर
बिल्कुल.
लोग बड़े मतलब काफ़ी कुछ करते हैं, आपके parents हैं, they come and stay with you and other things that happen. So I think your mindset was there that either now or never.
now or never in life. So I want to add value to life, sir. I don't want to do just audit for one company. I want that the student who does not know that how can I claim my tuition fees in my tax return, he should get his 800 euros or whatever, 400 euros, whatever he should get. There's somebody who does not know about taxes, and if I have been a chartered accountant against all odds, and if this has helped me, then I want to add value.
Yeah.
I want to contribute and touch lives. I want to meet 1,000 people in a year so that I be the better version of myself. Because
Yes.
when you are on the street, you hit with challenges and problem is progress.
तो फर्स्ट जो लेट्स से आपने जॉब छोड़ दिया, नोटिस दे दिया, काफ़ी लोग ये भी करते हैं कि कम अपने जॉब के साथ साथ एक बिजनेस स्टार्ट करते हैं, उसको ग्रो होने देते हैं और जब थोड़ा सा ग्रो हो जाता है फिर करते हैं. बट मेरे ख्याल से आपका कॉन्सेप्ट ये नहीं था, आपने जॉब छोड़ के एकदम से यू प्लंज इनटू अ बिजनेस. इट वाज नेवर लाइक concurrently that you were doing both
No,
things.
it was concurrently when I was doing both. What
Okay.
you said is right. Okay. And I would like to highlight that fact that from 2019 when I stopped working for Jabil, for 3 months I was working for a Waterford based practicing chartered accountant firm. So I left Dublin, I went there. I used to come back and forth. It was more kind of that 3 days I'm there, 4 days I'm there, 2 days I'm here. So I was driving and traveling. That was to learn. I was an associate director in a firm. And that's where I got that job.
तो आप लोगों को मोस्टली सजेस्ट करोगे कि एकदम से जॉब छोड़ने से बेटर है आप कहीं पे लर्न करो, ग्रेजुअली उसको छोड़ो.
Sir, learning
ऐसे ही है. तो आई थिंक एक आपने बिजनेस स्टार्ट किया, फिर उसके बाद कभी आपको लगा कि फर्स्ट ईयर में 2 ईयर में कि शायद मैं जॉब में ही ज़्यादा कंफर्ट था, क्योंकि कई बार क्या होता है कि स्टार्टअप जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स होते हैं उनको लगता है कि यार सब कुछ मुझे ही करना पड़ रहा है, अकाउंटिंग भी मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, सेल्स भी मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, मार्केटिंग भी मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि आप सारे फंक्शंस खुद ही कर रहे हो, आप सीए नहीं रह गए हो, आप सारे फंक्शंस के ऑल इन वन जैक ऑफ ऑल ट्रेड्स बनना पड़ता है.
सर वो एक जर्नी में ये होता ही है. व्हेन यू स्टार्टअप यू विल हैव टू बी द सीटीओ, सीएमओ, सीएफओ, यू विल हैव टू बी द सीईओ. सारा काम आप ही को करना पड़ेगा. लकीली मैं लकी था कि मुकेश इज विद मी. So me and Mukesh, it's a partnership firm, FinTech Pro, and we work together and we bring different skill sets. But yeah, there were challenges for technology related products because we had a kind of a half technology and a half accounting firm. That's how we put it ourselves. Yes. It's a cloud-based accounting. So you have to do a lot of things, but that is the kick. That's what you wanted.
I think एक एक क्लाइंट मिलता है आपका मोटिवेशन अपने आप ऊपर जाता है. I think
एक साथ 3 मिले, 3 ने और 3 को रेफर किया एंड देन वी रैन अ रेफरल स्कीम फॉर द फर्स्ट ईयर. आई सेड दैट कोई क्लाइंट सजेस्ट करेगा हम आपको ऑल फॉर वन वाउचर देंगे.
Okay, that's a nice way of marketing.
We want to give something back, and why would I go? And there are some people who just go to the recruiters and tell them that please, if you get contractors, refer us.
Yeah.
And we might pay you, or we might give you a lunch or something. But I always made my customers my referral partners.
आपने जब स्टार्टअप किया, आई थिंक आपने जैसे रेफरल स्कीम स्टार्ट करी, बाकी और काफ़ी सारी स्कीम स्टार्ट करी. आई थिंक अभी बहुत सारे गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से बहुत सारे ग्रांट हैं स्टार्टअप्स के लिए, जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बनना चाहते हैं, जो अपनी स्टार्टअप करना चाहते हैं. आप मे बी 3-4 कुछ ऐसे ग्रांट्स बताओ जो लोग अवेल कर सकते हैं, जिससे उनको एक कंफर्ट जोन जिसको बोलते हैं, स्टार्ट में ऐसा ना लगे कि उनको बहुत कैपिटल लगाना पड़ रहा है, सब कुछ उनको अपनी पॉकेट से देना पड़ रहा है. ऐसा 1-2 चीज़ें आप शेयर करो जिससे उनको थोड़ा सपोर्ट सिस्टम है इन प्लेस.
सर पहले तो एक चीज़ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ये है कि इफ़ यू आर ट्राइंग टू स्टार्ट अप अ बिजनेस, एक थोड़ा सेविंग्स अपना खुद का रखना और एक मिनिमम अमाउंट सेट करना डिपेंडिंग ऑन हाउ कैपिटल इंटेंसिव द बिजनेस इज. If the business is more capital intensive, you will have to put in your more funds. So depending on that, which industry, what you want to do, keep a little bit of chunk with you so that you are invested in the business, you are interested in the business, and you have put in your own, you have your skin in the game. And then there are grants. The grants like the TOVs, the Trading Online Voucher Scheme, we have utilized that. हमें
जिसमें आपको वेबसाइट बना सकते हो
आपको सारा डिजिटल. In fact, they are now, they've been, and ever since the start, they're giving that 2,500 not only just for the website, but also for if you want to have Google ads being run, if you want to do some amount of marketing related events, if you want to do some more kind of graphics and some videography, some photography. So there's been a lot been added into that 5,000 euro package, and people have used them. Some of our clients we have suggested, and some of our clients have done it during the COVID time and have bootstrapped the whole online sales thing. Because that's where it is going, right?
एक feasibility grant आपने मुझे बोला था,
feasibility grant भी is a second one. Yeah, so like we have TOVs, we have feasibility. There's a shopfront grant. लोगों को पता ही नहीं है. Shopfront, when we came out, अभी हम यहाँ स्टूडियो में आए तो हमने देखा कि ऊपर लगा हुआ है कि फलाना डिमका स्टूडियोज, so and so studios or ABC studios. We see that neon board or whatever, the way it has been done, the way it has been designed, there's an expense to it, and there are media companies who manufacture this, and if you want to do that, if you get eligible for it, there are some conditions that you have. Local enterprise office is the office where you go, you talk to them when you want to start. There are grants. If you don't understand any of the things, consultants like us can help. And over the period of time, we have helped more than 20 companies today in the last 3 years to bootstrap their business, to help them to understand that what grants they can take. And this is a great value add. I mean, 15,000 somebody gets if he spends 30,000 on market research and feasibility. Always this has been a problem. If you don't do the market research and you plunge into any business, it is like driving a car blindfoldedly.
Yes.
It's not. There are people, and the examples are there, and it's the books are filled with examples where people thought that their trust and intuition about a particular thing is so high that they want to plunge into that business. What happens at the end is that because they did not do market research, it was not a great customer product fit.
बिल्कुल.
प्रोडक्ट है, कस्टमर है, बट फिट नहीं है यार. वो कस्टमर को ये प्रोडक्ट ही नहीं चाहिए.
हाँ नहीं, आई थिंक जब भी कोई फ्रेंड्स हैं, जब भी वो स्टार्ट करना चाहते हैं, आई थिंक मैं उनको यही बोलता हूँ कि अगर आप कहीं किसी और कंट्री में हो जहाँ पे इतने ग्रांट्स नहीं है, यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग आपका खुद का बहुत सारा पैसा. एटलीस्ट यहाँ पर जो है आप उसको अवेल करो. गवर्नमेंट भी चाहती है कि आप जॉब क्रिएट करो और इकोनॉमी को बूस्ट करो. तो अगर हम समराइज करें कि स्टार्टअप्स के लिए अगर आप बिल्कुल बुलेट पॉइंट्स में बताएं तो 3-4 ऐसे ग्रांट्स बताएं जो मोस्ट कंपनीज अवेल कर सकती हैं
Yeah.
स्टार्टअप्स.
The startup grants are divided into two: the LEOs and the Enterprise Island. Enterprise Island is a big level game, and they have a lot of other criteria. But for the LEO, you can go for TOVS, Trading Online Voucher Scheme, Feasibility Grant, Shopfront Grant. These are the three which I have worked on and which I know.
ओके. आई थिंक ये तो स्टार्टअप्स हो गए. आई थिंक बहुत सारे लोग जब थोड़ा अच्छा करने लग जाते हैं मार्केट में, हम उस पर भी टच कर सकते हैं कि स्टार्टअप्स तो ले ही रहे हैं ग्रांट्स, बट जो कंपनीज ऑलरेडी सेटअप है, ऑलरेडी अच्छा कर रही हैं अपने लिए, उनके लिए भी आई थिंक एवरी बजट में कुछ ना कुछ ग्रांट्स आते हैं कि आप ले सकते हो, कि सिर्फ इट्स मोस्टली टू डू विद स्टार्टअप्स. Or if I'm wrong in
Existing
stating that.
companies can also do several amount of grants, and then there are other finance options as well, which we should not forget here. अगर किसी को business खड़ा करना है and खुद का पैसा है, and if they have formed a company and they go to bankers and other companies which are like Flender Finance or other NBFCs, we call it, non-banking financial institutions, they are also willing to chip in funds if they see the value in the product.
Okay.
So it's not just sometimes that you are putting it. I have a real estate company, and the promoter said that we are going to chip in 100K each, and we are 3 of us, and would you be interested in doing a finance project? Let's talk to AIB or BOI and try to get more
Some
finance
funding,
on this,
yeah.
just to buy rundown properties and revamp.
आई थिंक हेल्दी कंपटीशन इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि अगर कंपटीशन नहीं है तो आप ग्रो भी नहीं करना चाह रहे
सही
हो.
है.
आई थिंक जस्ट मेरे ख्याल से अब हम लास्ट चीज़ करते हैं कि हमने स्टार्टअप्स की बात कर ली, जो एग्जिस्टिंग बिजनेसेस हैं उनकी बात कर ली. आई थिंक काफ़ी सारे ऐसे भी लोग हैं जो आईटी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स हैं या लोकम हैं, तो उन लोगों के लिए बेस्ट स्टार्ट क्या होता है कि वो अकाउंटेंसी फर्म्स को कॉन्टेक्ट करें, जैसे फिनटेक प्रो है, ताकि वो रजिस्टर कर पाए उनके साथ, एंड देन just give us very like 2-3 minutes and then I
Yeah.
think we are.
I mean, एकदम simple है ये. Any person who is in an IT job or in a pharma job, and if he wants to move to contracting, or if he's actually in contracting, we do, we will be able to help them to carve out a journey that what is better for them, whether an umbrella company or a limited company. We do plan their taxes. We ensure that pura taxation, personal and company, we manage it in a cloud format so they can log in and they can do it. Like the way you log in into an AIB bank, you are able to log in on Fintech Pros app, and you are able to do this. So that technology, that comfort, you're gonna get it with us. Plus, it's not a faceless organization, sir. मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ आपके सामने, इसी तरीके से I'm talking to my client. We are a very boutique firm, a small firm with a bigger impact.
नहीं, बिल्कुल. Thank you, Jay, for coming.
No problem.
And I'm sure we'll cross our paths again, and there'll be a lot of more people listening, trying to do something better with their life, either through the startups or contracting.